I'm sure for any of you who are involved in buying material at this moment in time, you're all more than aware of the current volatility and difficulties in the material supply chain. So I'm here to hopefully give you some context behind the reasons for it. I'd like to say I'll be able to give you some good news about the end being in sight, but that may not be the case. And then I also want to talk to you about our own business in the UK. I'll start off by telling a little bit about thyssenkrupp. The first thing for me is whenever anybody says thyssenkrupp, most people tell me they know our elevators, our escalators, our aircraft passenger tunnels, that kind of thing. That's not my division within thyssenkrupp, so I'm here to talk specifically about thyssenkrupp Material Services. So I'll start off just telling you about who we are, what we do, what are our capabilities in the UK. Then we'll move on to a few words about the volatility, a few slides about the material markets, and then I want to talk about our materials as a service concept. For us, that's a really important strategy for us moving forward. It's about us offering something that's more than just a material supplier to all of our customers. And I'd like to just give you a little detail about how we see that working, give you some specific examples of areas that we've already moved into, and some case studies about some of the interesting projects we're already working on. So first of all, thyssenkrupp Materials. So thyssenkrupp Materials UK is part of the Materials Services Group. We are the largest metal distributor in the Western world, so outside the Far East, and we're in the top 10 globally. As you can see from the slide, we're over 2,200 sites. We're represented in nearly 80 countries with over 250,000 customers in the metal supply chain. Regional headquarters all over the world, so Asia Pacific, in China, in India, and also North and South America, with the majority of our business focused on Eastern and Western Europe, and the USA. So what do we do? So this slide gives a brief overview. As a materials distributor, we are primarily the intermediary between the production and the manufacturers. So we are the bridge that links the mills and the manufacturers with our customers. Now, previously that was just about us stocking material and supplying it to our customers. As I start to talk about materials as a service, I'll show you how we can offer a lot more than that now, than that basic material stock holding service. So we can help with logistics with 3PL, 4PL solutions. We can help with digitalization with IT. We've also got a great deal of internal and external processing capability. So we can really offer a full supply chain solution to all of our customers. We're present in several different manufacturing sectors. So we're very strong in automotive and yellow goods. Our largest sector now in the UK is aerospace, and if you look from our sites here, we have now 8 sites in the UK, 7 sites with warehouse and production capabilities, and 1 site in Swindon that is just a sales office. We recently undertook a merger of our businesses in the UK, so we merged our aerospace business with our commercial materials division, and we now have got unrivaled capabilities in terms of breadth and width of our processing capability. So we range from plate saws. We have 8 aluminium plate saws in the UK. We have 12 bar saws. Our coil processing centre, Vetchbury, can process. We have 12 slitting lines. We have 4 blanking lines, including 2 wide blanking lines. We can process stainless steel and aluminium from 0.3 millimetre right up until 4 millimetre thick stainless steel and 6 millimetre thick aluminium. We also have our site at Darton in Yorkshire is a water jet site. We have 9 water jets on the site in Darton. We have CNC capability across several sites ranging from 3, 4 and 5 axis up to 7.5 metres long in extrusion, and also a great deal of plate capability right up to 300 millimetre thick as well. We have sheet routing capability also at the site at Yorkshire, which is particularly prevalent for the aerospace sector, where in a lot of cases they cannot accept laser due to potential heat deformity. So in terms of our internal capabilities, we can offer a really wide range of services as well as the stock holding and supply of materials. We also work with a great deal of external partners as well, so anything that isn't covered, laser for example, folding, some more complex CNC machining, particularly in heavy steels, we have a very well established supply chain with external subcontractors. So that's a little bit about thyssenkrupp Materials UK. Who are we? What do we do? Where are our sites? Now I'd like to talk to you about the materials market where it is today, and hopefully give you some context. I'm sure a lot of you will already know, but give you some context about why we're in what I would consider a little bit of a perfect storm now with regards to material pricing and material availability. So, starting with volatility, I think these graphs tell the story. So our primary products that we sell in the UK are stainless steel, aluminium, and carbon steel. If you look at the graph at the top left, that just shows the aluminium price on the LME, which has been consistently rising throughout the year. If you look at the graph on the right, this is data from one of the market indices for grade 304 stainless steel sheet, so the most standard grade of material. And again, you've seen a significant price increase during the course of 2021. LME steel scrap price shows one site. Now, to be honest with you, on the LME slides, they only show part of the picture, because whilst the LME has been rising on aluminium, we've also seen, due to severe capacity restrictions and availability, the conversion and the billet premium rise considerably as well, which has given us a situation where aluminium is currently at record highs, certainly the highest it's been for the last 10 years. Stainless steel, the supply situation is really unprecedented. So if I talk about myself, I've been in this industry for close to 25 years. I've never seen the development of stainless steel move as quickly as it has done in the course of the last 6 months. There's various reasons for that. I mean, obviously, the one that we all see on the news is this is partly due to the switching back on after the COVID pandemic. That has an inevitable effect. But I think there's also a lot of other factors that are really causing this to be as bad as it is. And I'll talk about some of those in a moment, around global freight situation, around container availability. But I think if you look at where we're at, the simple factor is that at the moment, demand is far outweighing the available capacity in the European market in both stainless steel and in aluminium. We're looking at lead times on aluminium flat roll products extended from the usual 8 to 12 weeks that we've all become used to, which in reality, going back 5 years, was probably shorter than normal, up to a stage where we're now looking 7 to 9 months. We're also starting to get to the same situation in stainless steel. In reality now, the lead time for mill production from stainless steel is something like March or April. So we have a situation where the European mills are full, and the thing that really drives that home more than anything else from my perspective is the EU announced last week that they are suspending the anti-dumping investigation on aluminium flat roll product from China, not because they don't think it's a valid investigation, simply because they recognise that at present there is not enough available capacity from the EU producers to supply the EU demand, which is an unprecedented situation. I think, from my perspective, I'll talk in a little while about why that probably still won't solve the problem. And I think one thing that we should remember when we're talking about these level of capacity as well, and about how much demand there is out there, we're talking about an automotive sector at the moment that has its supply issues. That means that the automotive sector isn't that busy. If you look at the SMMT announced figures last month, July was the lowest car build figures for the UK in the last decade. We're also talking about an area that we're closely involved in. We're talking about an aerospace sector that at this moment in time is still in a very, very serious situation. Yes, we're starting to see demand, or certainly starting to see forecasted demand increase with the announcement of the latest Airbus build rates going into next year. But in reality, the capacity and the mill capacity in the market hasn't actually seen that hit yet. So if we're honest, we look at it and this is a situation that could get worse. We've seen also now, following on from Brexit, we've now seen the UK government announce potential anti-dumping investigation onto Chinese extrusion. That could make the market tighter from the extrusion side of things. And in reality, the EU tariffs on steel and on stainless steel, flat roll products, are limiting the amount of material that could come in from Asia as well. So all of these things combining together are giving us somewhat of a perfect storm. The latest example of which is the military coup in Guinea, which at first sight you wouldn't think would have a significant impact on the aluminium market. But Guinea is one of the world's largest producers of bauxite, and bauxite is a very important element in aluminium production. So since the attempted military coup last week, we saw the LME almost reach $3,000 for a political situation in an African country that we would not have considered necessarily pivotal in the supply of aluminium. So just about every factor at the moment that could drive the price up is driving up both LME and also the conversion and billet premium. Since earlier this year, Russia announced a premium on all aluminium billet. So there's a 15% premium on all aluminium billet coming from Russia. 90% of Europe's demand comes from Russia when it comes to billet. So we're in a situation where all of the market indicators are driving the price up, which in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, please don't record this and please don't hold me to it, but in my opinion, the signs for me don't show any sign of the price falling back down, certainly in the first half of 2022. I think the mills are extremely bullish. They know that their capacity is completely full. And the price on stainless, as an example, the base price is rising significantly on a monthly basis and will continue to do so certainly until the end of Q1 because the mills are already full of flat rolled products. Then, of course, there's the possibility of supply from Asia. So I'm painting a fairly bleak picture here about the capacity that's available from Europe. So usually there'd be an argument to say, okay, even with the tariffs controlling the amount of Asian imports that come in, there's still a part for the Asian suppliers to play, and that's when you come across the problem of congestion at ports and in particular container costs. As you can see from this slide here, this graph shows the average container price to ship from China to either American East Coast or West Coast and to Europe. And as you can see, due to lack of container availability, the China to North Europe container cost, this is the average for July, has increased year on year by 721%. So the reality is, with the opening up of flat rolled aluminium, I said to you earlier on about the aluminium flat rolled investigation being dropped or temporarily suspended for aluminium flat rolled. The reality is the costs from Asia are no lower than the cost from Europe. In fact, in several cases at the moment, the costs are higher. So there isn't necessarily a silver bullet coming from supply from Asia due to the continuing issues with congestion at the ports. The crazy thing is, the container shortage is, yes, it's a shortage. It's a shortage in available containers, but the reality is the lack of trade between Asia and Europe is causing that shortage. If you speak to any of the port management companies at the moment, Felixstowe as an example, is full of empty containers. But there isn't the blank ships or the empty ships going back to take those containers and keep the flow going. So again, we're in a perfect storm. It's a very difficult situation at the moment. Then we have Meishan port in China, one of the major ports, has a closure of just over a week due to one positive case of COVID. A closure of a week doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's responsible for the amount of the world shipping that port is, that impact will be felt for a period of maybe 2 months. If you look at the Suez Canal as an example, we had material ourselves on that ship. The impact of the Suez Canal wasn't just about that one ship, it was about all of the ships that were halted after it. So these seemingly small events can have a major impact on global supply moving forward. To give an indication, this graph shows this is the amount of vessels arriving on time. Okay, and as you can see, the bottom graph is 2021. So the average is somewhere between 30 and 40% of vessels arriving on time so far this year. These are the officially announced figures. If you compare that to 2019, where the average was around 80%. So again, reliability is an issue, capacity is an issue. It's very difficult to get material, to get stainless steel, be it stainless steel, be it aluminium. And when there is that difficulty, that is why the price continues to rise. So I've painted a terrible picture there, and I've done it a little bit on purpose, to be honest with you, but I think it gives an idea of just how difficult the market is right now. So as thyssenkrupp Materials and as thyssenkrupp Materials Services being the largest distributor in the Western world, we've worked very closely with a lot of our customers to try to minimise the issues caused by lack of capacity. How have we done that? Well, we've done it by making sure that we have reserve capacity with all of Europe's largest mills. As one of their largest customers, we're able to do that. One thing that we take great pride on is, yes, prices go up, but we are very transparent with our customers. We always give this kind of information that shows and allows them to discuss with their customers and allows them to manage the expectations around price increases. We've worked very closely to minimise the risk of supply disruption. And I think right now, as I stand here today, more than I've ever said as a materials distributor, the biggest issue right now is getting material, not the price at which you can get it. Because in all honesty, when you're talking about a global price situation that we have right now, anybody that can get material is going to pay significantly increased prices. And that is going to affect the entire supply chain. There's no doubt about that, all the way through from mill to material distributor to tier 1, tier 2, through to the OEMs. The biggest problem is lack of available capacity. So we've worked very, very hard with our customers to ensure that we're booking as far forward as possible to secure that material supply into 2022 and beyond in some cases. So I guess the real message from me is we've had a really bumpy ride so far in 2021, and I wish I could stand here and give you some confidence to say that it's going to get easier. I would say in the short to medium term, all of the factors point to continued price increases, or certainly not price falling, and continued disruption to the supply chain in 2022. As thyssenkrupp Materials, we are always there to help our customers and to help our partners to ensure we minimise that as much as possible. Now to hopefully something a little bit more cheery than the bad news I've just told everybody. I'd like to talk about our materials as a service concept. So traditionally, we saw ourselves, and still do to some degree, as a materials distributor. And that goes back to the slide I showed earlier, the bridge between the producers and the customer. And that's still a very important part of what we do at thyssenkrupp Materials. But our strategy moving forward is to make ourselves a completely customer-centric organisation. And instead of just focusing on the materials that we can supply our customers, we're taking a much more holistic approach and talking to our customers about how to identify their pain points and how to work together to find those solutions. And really, behind this strategy, there are three things that underpin the whole thing. Digitalisation, we recognise the need to move further and further forward with digitalisation. And that can mean anything from developing apps to work with our customers. It can mean forecasting software. It can really mean anything to allow us to help with the supply chain challenges. It can mean RFID on site. It can mean tracking of orders. We have a lot of online tracking available for all of the material that we send out. Really working together to find digital solutions with our customers, EDI, all of those kinds of things. But customer is the most important thing, and that customer centricity with the customer as our North Star in everything that we do, really talking to them and understanding their pain points and really pushing forward to find those solutions, be it with our own internal processing capability or be it working as part of the supply chain service network, be it 3PL, 4PL solutions. We're working with customers across a wide range of sectors, as I said earlier, from aerospace to automotive to yellow goods, right across the sector. And of course, at the heart of everything that we do is sustainability. And sustainability from an environmental point of view, where we have commitments in line with the Paris Climate Agreement. It's very difficult to do that as a material supplier, especially as we have a steel mill. Now, all of the news that you'll see from our steel mill at the moment is around developing hydrogen solutions. So even the areas which are traditionally very carbon unfriendly, we're working on solutions to do that. But also in terms of sustainability that I spoke about earlier on, making sure that we work with our customers to keep their business sustainable, to face the challenges of the material supply situation at the moment. And how do we do that? Well, we recognise that more and more our customers are not just asking us about material. They're also looking for us to get more involved and further up the value chain, both in terms of our internal capabilities, but also in terms of solving some of those supply chain solutions. We're working with a lot of tier 1, tier 2 customers that are now expecting us to be able to help them with finished parts, with logistics. We're really offering them solutions across the whole supply chain. Sometimes it's warehousing. Sometimes it's, as I said, a logistics solution. Sometimes it's industry knowledge. Sometimes it's just sharing of ideas and engineering. We've recently, in the last 12 months, started our own design team. So we have a design team offering solutions, particularly focused on aluminium at the moment, but expanding into solutions for fabricated steel, and really trying to get more embedded in the value chain of our customers. And I've got some examples to talk to you about. I'm not going to go into too many details in terms of the customers, but example number one from our point of view is balcony production. So we identified balconies as a real potential growing market. Lots of apartment developments at the moment throughout the UK. 18 months ago, we supplied the extrusion for the balconies. That was it. A mill finish extrusion in full lengths. We opened a facility just over 12 months ago. We installed some CNC capabilities. You can see there, 5-axis long bed CNC machining. And we now, with this particular partner, look at the whole supply chain. So we take the material, take the extrusion we used to supply. We're now fabricating it on our CNC. We're controlling the supply chain. We're sending out, we're controlling the paint with an external partner. We're buying in all folded panels and all of the fixings and all the fasteners. And we are building the balconies. So we now supply, as you can see in that bottom picture there, we now supply a fully compliant, well-built balcony that our customer simply installs straight onto the building. The factory that we established just over 12 months ago is paperless. All of the quality documentation, the whole fabrication process, the whole assembly process is done using tablets without any paper at all. And the QA documentation, as soon as the balcony is finished, is sent direct to the customer per balcony. So traceable all the way through to the last fixing and fastener. That is a project. That's a project, as I said, we set up 12 months ago. It's a rapidly expanding part of our business, working very closely with our partner in that sector, producing a fantastic quality product, and doing it in the right environment, as in a paperless office, in really using automation and digitalization to the best of our abilities. We expect that business to continue to grow considerably. With the level of order book we already have guaranteed, and we are, I think it's safe to say, building more and more balconies on a monthly basis as we get better at what we do. Second example, and I think what I want to show here, I'm going to show a few examples, and they show that sometimes it can be quite a complex solution, like this one here that I'm going to talk about, and like the balconies, where we take something that started as material supply and we end up making a finished or semi-finished product. And some of them is just simple conversations with customers, understanding where they have non-value add work for them and finding a solution for them. So this one here is for defence parts, and this is quite a complicated supply chain. So we source the material, we are plate cutting, so most of it's aluminium. We're plate cutting on our plate saws at our site in Preston. We're water jetting where it's steel, and also some of the aluminium parts as well. We are CNC machining to finish sizes. We're sending for paint, so we're managing the paint supply chain. We're putting fixings in, and we're actually supplying a semi-finished part for them to go and assemble. That's a project that we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years. Again, it's expanding for us. We're managing to do that. Apart from the paint, everything we do is done internally. So it's 95% of the parts are done internally, using the CNC capability that we have at our site in Preston. So again, it's about us moving from a traditional material supplier to working to find the solutions for the customer. And I think the important thing for me, and one of the reasons that I wanted to talk at Subcon, is because I think we have a couple of opportunities. One, it's to grow the offering that we can give to our customers. But two, it's to find the right external partners for us, particularly in areas where we're not strong. And I mentioned some earlier on, laser, folding, that kind of thing, to really try and find the right subcon partners for us to be able to go and offer this whole supply chain solution. We have very good relationships up to OEM level in automotive, in aerospace, in a lot of the sectors that would be very attractive. And we're always looking for the right partners to work with us, be they customers or be they suppliers, all the way through. And I think particularly with Brexit, our focus, particularly when we're looking for external partners, is on the UK more than ever. So I think that's a really important thing to say, that whereas before we may have looked at some of our own internal companies even, that has become more complicated for us, and we are always looking for new partners in the UK to work with. So I think that's an important thing to say. The next example, from my point of view, is back to something really simple. So one of the major sectors for us is architectural facades. So for the outside of buildings, and particularly since the terrible events of the Grenfell Tower, we've seen a real move back to aluminium painted product, non-combustible, as opposed to what was traditionally moving towards a composite panel. And we have at our service centre cut to length lines, as I mentioned earlier on, and we're working now, as opposed to selling standard sheets to our customers, we're working on project specific quantities and lengths for all of the architectural projects that we work on. So it's taking away the need for the customer to do a lot of, taking away the scrap first of all, taking away the need for them to extra process down to the finished sizes. But actually with this specific example, and it just shows that some of the smaller details are some of the problems that we're solving, the customer bought a new line and they were having all sorts of problems, including from the material that we were supplying to them, because their line was switching off at night because it was an auto load and it kept having problems. So we just put together a small team, did a little workshop, came up with a very specific packaging solution. We actually worked out between us what was causing the lights out manufacturing to stop, and now we have supplied parts, perfect spec, perfectly set up for their auto loader on their machine, and it's increased their output significantly by taking away the waste, taking away the scrap, taking away the extra process, and allowing their automated machines to run more effectively. One other area that I want to talk about as well, and this is an area that is in development for us, is metal powder, so additive manufacturing. We're working with several partners discussing this. We're also looking for new partners, particularly in this area. So as thyssenkrupp, we can supply metal powders. We will be exhibiting at the TCT show in a few weeks' time. So we can supply the metal powders, but we're also looking at solutions around CNC machining, around additive manufacturing, around printing itself, including potential to upgrade our CNC machines to give us the capability to machine, to directly print onto our machines and to CNC machine from that point. It's early stages of development. We're speaking to all of the major aerospace players in this field at the moment. If I'm honest, I think with metal powder additive manufacturing particularly, it's still at an early stage of development itself, but it's certainly an area that we're looking for partners in, and we would be in a very strong position to be able to potentially introduce those partners into an aerospace supply chain, for example, that they may not be able to get into at this moment in time. So we're looking for the right partners. We'd really be interested to talk to anybody. If it's something that anybody has an interest or can offer us some services, some conversations about, we'd welcome to have that chat with you at TCT without a doubt. And like I say, we are speaking to a lot of our customers on this topic at the moment and generating some real interest from them. Before I move on to any questions that anybody may have, we're working, there's a stand very close by to here, we're working very closely with Made Smarter, and we would really recommend visiting their website. There is potential help, potential knowledge transfer, potential maybe even funding for the right projects. So if anybody is working on projects around additive manufacturing, around digitization, I would really recommend speaking to the team at the Made Smarter group. I've deliberately put the link to the website up there now. There may be ways in which they can help from a knowledge transfer point of view, anything like that, and we really have, particularly about additive manufacturing, I think our starting point was with these guys, and we've learned a lot, and they've put us into contact with some really interesting people. So there's the link. If it's fields that you're interested in, please speak to them. They're more knowledgeable than we are and more able to help. But yeah, thank you very much to the help they've given us already, and we'd really recommend them as potential partners, or certainly sounding boards for any ideas that you have. So that's me done in terms of talking. I think I have to swap headphones now, so just bear with me 1 second.
Keep your microphone on.
I'll keep that on as oh god.
Yeah,
I've now got a microphone, a pair of glasses and some headphones. This could go wrong.
We do have time for some questions. If anybody's got any questions for Billy, I can kick off if people are being shy. You spoke a lot about the kind of supply chain challenges. Some pretty scary numbers. What can companies do to mitigate against that? You obviously spoke about the relationships that you've got that mean you can kind of secure slots and things like that. But if companies can't do that, what can they do to mitigate that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where I go back to the point that I made around capacity and availability being more important than price right now. And my recommendation there would be, I mean, I'm not going to take the easy sell and be, obviously my recommendation there would be talk to thyssenkrupp Materials and we can help you. But in reality, my recommendation in that front would be think about talking to your customers and giving as much forward visibility as possible across the supply chain. When you've got visibility, you can start to talk and put a plan together. And I think sometimes we are a bit guilty of being a bit too reactive to material requirements, and right now that's the wrong thing to do. So where it's possible to get visibility, where it's possible to make commitments, I've never known a market where that's more necessary than it is right now. Because if you leave it to chance, if you believe that, well, we've always been able to get this material so it will be okay, it won't, guys, is what I would say to that. So my recommendation would really be work with a partner, give that visibility, and try to commit as far forward as you can with very firm commitments. And for a lot of the OEMs, if we're talking automotive and aerospace, that's quite an alien thing. But I honestly believe they're going to have to get used to it, even if it's only short term, because there's no other way around it. And simply put, at the moment, we're working with our contracted partners. We have an awful lot of customers where we take in long-term contracts, 12 months or more. And the level of the offer is coming from the mill right now, and it's really simple. The validity on it is 3 days, and if you don't take that validity, then they'll sell it somewhere else. So I think be able to give as much forward visibility as you can, and be prepared to make quick decisions to secure material.
All sounds very, very complicated and counterintuitive as well. Not focusing on price, just focusing on, at the moment, prices. For a lot of people, front and centre of their minds, costs and everything else.
And to be honest, it feels alien to a degree to me to say that as well. But I think that because we're in that perfect storm that I described earlier on, it won't stay like this forever. But actually, not having material is more of an issue to all of us, I'm sure. So that would be my advice right now.
Great, thanks. Any questions from the floor? Yep.
Thank you. Very interesting, I think, looking forward in terms of the supply chain. When do you see that the whole issue is going to come to a head? Because clearly, as you say, most manufacturers are still on low output, low volumes and whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're talking, all right, into 2022, but that's still only, 3-4 months away. Yet if that's going to determine the overall supply of commodities to the marketplace, are there other countries that are going to beat us to it because they've opened up their own manufacturing or their own supply chain and are much more agile, if you like, than we are as a nation?
What I would say to that is, this isn't a UK phenomenon at the moment. So this is the same situation. This is a global situation. If I talk to my colleagues in our business in the US, they're going through exactly the same thing right now. They're also going through this throughout Europe. So I don't think that I don't think it will necessarily come to a head, but some interesting milestones for me that I would describe at the moment is, like I said earlier, when we start to see the aerospace sector really, really bite. And unlike any other, in fact, more than any other sector, I would imagine, the ramp up on aerospace, once it goes, is going to go massively, because we're talking about aircrafts on the ground all the time at the moment, and all of a sudden, I'm sure everybody's in the same boat. As soon as people can feel safe to go on holiday, everybody wants to go on holiday. So we're going to see it go in one way only. And I think that's going to be a really important factor in this, because if there's not enough capacity right now, particularly on aluminium, when that happens, it's going to get worse and worse. I think that if I separate the two, if I look at stainless steel, there are a few factors with some of the European supply that I'm not going to go into in any great detail now, but there are a few factors that have created a bottleneck. I think some of those will start to ease as we move into 2022. So I would say that there's a chance towards the end of 2022, we will see the stainless steel price fall and stabilise. I don't think it will go anytime soon back to the level it was pre-COVID, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But I think we will see towards end of Q3, maybe Q4 on stainless steel, a drop and some stabilisation. So we'll stop this massive ramp up. Aluminium is more of a challenge. I don't see a solution anytime soon for aluminium. It's not like the mills have available capacity that they're choosing not to open up. They are running at close to full capacity and they are full. So I would say that 2022 isn't... We won't see prices continue to rise at the rate that we have, but I certainly don't think we're going to see the fall of price and the opening up of capacity that isn't there today. Now, I think that if the container crisis can get resolved, then, as I said earlier on, if you look at aluminium, that is a potential silver bullet. If the container crisis can get resolved over the coming 6 to 12 months, then actually some of that capacity coming back in from Asia could be really helpful. It will also make the stainless steel market more interesting to Asian suppliers as well. So I think the things are very closely linked. If the situation at the ports improves, then material flow will improve, and a lot of this problem will be significantly reduced. So that would be my thoughts on that. Keep an eye out for an improving situation in containers in out the ports, and you will see material flow start to come with it.